Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip,
And I'm CJ.
and it is Monday in the Riv after the big recount on Saturday. And
Yes, and I I've been vilified by Melissa Costa. Oh my God! She said, "What do I have to gain?" Because she was on the Coogan side, I guess. What do I have to gain? All
yeah,
these
well,
people.
everybody's got
And look,
something
the
to gain.
majority of people that were there, from what I've been told, including from you, Chip, were people who owe Coogan.
Oh, yeah, it
And
was.
I
A,
was
it was.
told,
A,
and I'm
it was
quoting somebody. I'm quoting somebody. I'm not saying who, but I'm quoting somebody. They could smell the corruption in the air.
yeah. Well,
Okay,
I
so
mean,
guess what?
yeah.
I'm the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger.
Well, let me put it this way: people can draw whatever conclusion they want, but when I see people who would help draft the charter that gave mayors all the power sitting on the Coogan side, and they have been up Coogan's butt for the last 5 years, and other people I know got jobs from him. Other people got very rich. They've already gotten something. I wasn't there. I was there as somebody that wasn't on the Amaral campaign. I voted for him at the end after we had a discussion, but I was not part of that campaign. And Colin Dyers, is going to throw around these accusations. What have I got to gain? I worked my whole life. I earned my freaking pension. I don't need anybody. I own a house. I pay all my bills. I'm not looking for shit. When I go in and put a 40-hour weekend getting the health care for the employees of the city of Fall River, or go to the retirement board to fight for a raise in their COLA, I'm not doing it for the money. Colin Dyers doesn't need to do it either. Colin Dyers just got reelected. He's got 2 more years. So stop with the horse shit, okay? Everybody knows Coogan is loaded with patronage, and the people over there were regular people. I ran into a guy who was the son of a very close friend of mine who passed away a few years ago. One of my closest friends, actually, and he's a corrections officer. He was a corrections officer. What has he got to gain? He's got a job. Those people were that was the tale of 2 cities: the connected and the people who were there to try to change the government because they're sick and tired of the bullshit patronage. That's what that was to me. I looked across the room and I knew half of them.
Chip, we have a guest.
Colin, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Good,
How
good.
are you, Colin?
You were thrown in again. What do you got to gain? And you just heard my rant, I think so.
I did not. I apologize. I just joined, so I did miss your rant. But if you want to fill me in.
Somebody accused, because I guess in CJ's Weekend Flush, which was good, read it.
I did read it. It was very good.
He talked about, and she said, well, you said everybody was a political on the other side, and I said, well, don't, they were, and I knew 3/4 of them. We know they were the political ticks that go back. There were some people there that needed. I was surprised they didn't need a walker. They've been in politics.
I will say this.
They were there when I think. Right after Lexington and Concord, they were up some mayor's ass. But they're going to accuse me with all the work I do for free as a PEC and stuff. And you just got reelected, that we had something in the game. Well, listen, Marcy Yetkin was on the other side.
That's right.
Marcy Yetkin is a good friend of mine. Marcy Yetkin was working for Carlos Caesar. She was asked to go there because she had a little bit of political experience.
That's right.
I was asked by Boomer if I would go because he realizes I've been in this a little bit of time. Colin was there because obviously he's got some political acumen because he's involved in politics. But then, the old bullshit of of these people that they project what they want on you. So I'm not gonna, don't even go there. Let's quickly.
I will say this, if I may. There was one person on the mayor's side who handed me my ballot on election day who was helping him with
Yeah.
the recount, which
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah. Well, we can quickly touch on a recount because you and I were involved in it. And, I'll just give my opinion and I'll let you go to work on it too, because you actually had an objection that you brought it up in the weekend flush. It's problematic to me the way the absentee ballots were handled. They were mixed in with the regular ballots. I didn't see the envelopes. Nobody saw that. Nobody could look at the postmark, see if it was signed. We had a lot of very interesting things when we counted. We did Ward 8, the whole ward, and then we took a few from 9 and one from, I believe, 2. And in those, mostly 8. In 8, we had 28 ballots that only had a mark for Coogan. And then we got 6 more between we had 2 packets, so we did 150 between 9 and 2. And we got another 6. So we had 34 total ballots that are only checked. Kind of makes me think about what happened in the election with Joe Biden when they had thousands and thousands of ballots with only Joe Biden's name checked on it. It's cause for concern. I'm actually going to call the Secretary of State and ask if it's, I don't know if you have to make a formal request. I don't claim to be an expert on Chapter 54, Section 135. I looked it over. But I have to ask the Secretary of State whether that you have to make a specific request to have those things presented initially with the envelope that they were given in, or is it mandatory that they should be given to somebody to both parties for examination? But listen, the election's the election. He won by 219 votes, and that's not very big. And if you want to, you look, as you said, you looked at people that were actually working at the polls, who are now there with Coogan. And no, I'm not calling anybody's integrity, because look at this recall without those absentee ballots. To me, the rest of the stuff is really irrelevant, because the way we vote today with that little circle, you virtually have no objections. But like less than probably 1%, because if you see a circle and it's in the right box and it's a little too big, a little dot, the intent is there, and that's what the law says. So with all the ballots we had, we fundamentally didn't have any objections. I believe you got one, Colin, and you can speak to that. But the thing is, it gets down to the way the absentee ballots has been handled, and CJ and I have been having a problem with that for a long time. So listen, as far as the recount was concerned, the majority of hand-cast ballots, I don't think there were very many objections. You had one, but with that, it is what it is, and I'm calling it Joe Biden on this one. We had a lot of ballots that had only one mark. I find it puzzling that somebody would have an absentee ballot and they can take their time and say, well, I know Linda Pereira, I'm going to vote for her. I know Colin Byers, I'm going to put a check mark for him too. What the hell? I got the ballot in front of me. I'm not in any rush. I'm sitting in my house. When you get that many ballots, and we had a few, I don't know if you did, but we had at least 6 empty ballots. So, how you get them, how they're distributed, I think we really, and you and I think discussed this at the scene, we really have to look at the way we handle absentee ballots.
My thing about the blank ballots, I believe that when the ballots come in, they should be marked blank or something, so that when they go through the system, nobody can erroneously check off a candidate. Okay? But they should be marked. No question about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, yeah, Nelson, you got called out on
that.
that. What do you got to gain? And you've been an activist, and we've all been there. But like you said, the way we handle the ballot, and Colin Colin had one of the few objections that I think.
Yeah, if I can speak a little bit on the process. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Chip.
No, go ahead. I'm all done. It's all you now.
Thank you. I think just as quickly speaking in the beginning, I think for the most part, both sides were very respectful, both Boomer's side and Coogan's side. There was one gentleman who was trying to egg on myself and Mr. Amaral, and we didn't give in. However, the process, I agree with you. There needs to be, if you're going to have a recount, for the sake of due process and the sake of transparency, you should have the mail-in ballots, just the envelopes as a part of that recount, just so they can be reviewed, just for any candidate, just to take a look, just to make sure. That's the point of a recount, is to make sure all the ballots are correct. And I agree with you, most of the ballots themselves, because of the way they are with a circle, it's pretty straightforward, and I guess that's also a good thing as well. I would say besides the mail-ins, the objection, there's two objections that I had, but neither of them ended up going to the Elections Commission. I actually rescinded one. There was one that it was very hard to see the well, first of all, they go very quick when you're counting. That's one thing I was surprised about, was like how quick the process starts and you go. So there was one where I saw a small X in the circle, but I couldn't see what was under Boomer, so I had to make a decision quick. So I quickly objected, and we reviewed the ballot, and the ballot was fine. It was for Coogan, so I actually rescinded that objection. And the second one was actually the tally, and this was resolved at the table. We didn't have to go to the commission. They tallied a vote for it. And I truly believe it was an honest mistake. They tallied a vote that was for Boomer, and they marked Coogan. So we ended up just redoing the entire lot, the batch of 50. Again, a harmless mistake. We caught it, and we moved on. We had the individuals at our table were the election commissioner and the secretary for the election commissioner from Taunton, and they were both very, very nice people. And so that's really my experience with that. Again, I believe there's some decisions that were made against Boomer and Mr. Amaral that, but again, I think overall, for the overall majority of the process went well, and it was, again, it was a good time exercising our civic duty.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we had one. I think, I don't know if you did. We had one packet of ballots that had an extra ballot in it.
We had one that missed the ballot.
Yeah, we had one, and they had to recount the entire thing because we had 51. But as you said, everybody was cordial, and there was no, it went well. And this is the whole problem. The recount, as it stands now. I mean, in the old days with the X's or the check marks, you could see one that overlapped, and there were a lot of things. It's not going to happen. So, to me, this election is all about. I'm very concerned about the integrity of how the absentee ballots are cast, because we all know, and Trump made a lot of noise about that, but I saw it firsthand. I saw videos of the election between Trump and Biden where they were bringing in totes full of votes at 2:00 in the morning into a locked, and I had the video of it. And virtually all those votes had one check mark only for Biden. So we saw a few of those, but I don't know if it would have changed it. The fact is, it is what it is. But I agree with you, Colin, that I think that we should look long and hard on the way we handle the not only the distribution of absentee ballots, but when if there's another recount, how we handle those. I think they should be handled separately. They should be handled where everybody can verify. As you said, there were a few things that you looked at. I was there with Patrick Norton and and Coogan's chief of staff, Ann O'Neill Souza. So, but there weren't virtually. We looked. There were a few things that were a little dot. You had to look a little closely, and
Yeah.
it all went well. And but there was still a slight change, and I think that there's always going to be a question in my mind about the absentee as far as the ballots that were cast and counted by at the polls. I don't have any problem at all. I think that we did. I think any error that was caught was caught in the recount, and I think that if there's any question, any kind of something to say, well, I'm not really sure, it would be with the absentee ballots. And with that, it's done. And I don't know what's going to go on from here. I did it because I was asked to do it, and we had a good time. It was a long day, and so I guess we can just get on to what is in your wheelhouse, that scathing, shall I say, report. And I'd like your, we went over it at length on the last show. I'd like you to make a few comments on some areas that I know you've reported it, and get your, as a sitting school committee man, and congratulations publicly on your reelection, as to be there now, and what you think about this report, and fundamentally, what do you think has to be done about fixing this catastrophe that we've seen?
Yeah, no, I think you really hit the nail on the head in the last show. Obviously, this report highlights and makes several findings in both HR and facilities and the general administration, which are at minimum concerning, and at most we should be sounding the alarm on how widespread the mismanagement is in those two departments. Myself and Mr. Aguiar have for months and months, but we didn't have the votes at the time, have called for audits, specifically in facilities, and we called for reforms within HR as well. What needs to happen now is, with this report, we have the issue, highlighted the issue, findings on the issues themselves, but we don't have who and we don't have why. And how you get the who and how you get the why is through an audit. So one of the first things that I'll be pushing for in January with the new school committee is comprehensive audits of both of those departments, so we can see specifically what happened and hold people accountable. And the second thing that needs to happen is, with a new school committee, one of our duties is to hold the superintendent accountable, something that hasn't been done for the last few years, especially this year. Is we need to hold Tracy Curley accountable when there's lack of leadership from her. And again, my personal opinion is that the superintendent, for once, showed some accountability for her own subordinates and held her own subordinates accountable, we wouldn't be seeing half of these issues happen, or half of these issues be highlighted in reports. We need a good environment in the Fall River Public Schools, and starts from the top down. So that's my opinion.
I want to just say one thing before you go. I agree, but kudos for you on what you tried to do, and hopefully you will do. But I want to just ask you this one question. I think I'll get a smile out of you, because CJ and I have been in that position many times. Don't you feel vindicated now? Because this report basically said all those questions you asked, all those things that you wanted to do, were just totally justified. And because you didn't get answers, we finally got somebody to go in there and take a look. And it basically proved that you guys were 100% correct in doing your job to try to ask questions and be transparent, and have them be transparent. So I just want to congratulate you and Kevin on that, because you have been vindicated. So just like we were on the Durfee High School not ever being paid by the time it came due. So
Yeah, no, I guess slightly. I will say, I always knew there were issues within those two departments. We have a $10 million lawsuit that was filed against the Fall River Public Schools, where an outside attorney already highlighted several issues within both HR and facilities, specifically through security. We've seen reports before of misuse of overtime, misuse of school department equipment, possible insurance fraud by using an illegal garage to work on private vehicles. So we've seen the issues. I mean, this report kind of already highlights what we already know, and I think it highlights it in a way so the general public can see that there's issues. So that definitely helps in terms of advocating for reforms. So what needs to happen now is we have a new school committee, and I'm confident the school committee that's incoming, at least the majority, is independent minded, and we'll see this as well, and we'll see that we need comprehensive audits and we need comprehensive reforms. We need a strategic plan, and we need the superintendent, whoever that is, to hold their subordinates accountable for what they do.
yeah, well, I can tell you right now, the reason that they didn't want to answer your questions was exactly what this report showed, because this report is not going to be helpful for the city and the school department on that lawsuit. This is not going to be this is not a good report. That lawyer who filed the lawsuit is going to be very happy to get his hands on this report.
Yeah. Again, I think there's no sugarcoating it. This is a bad report. It's a terrible report, and I just laid out what needs to happen next. And that,
yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing you can do about it, Colin, except do what you did, and that's try to get answers. And now, hopefully, with some support, and I think this will be an impetus to the new people that have been elected to the school committee to realize that we have to hold these people accountable, as you two try to, and let's everybody get on board about fixing this mess, basically.
Well, what's going to be interesting is me being the troublemaker that I am. I have published the report to the web, so anybody can get it off the web. And I sent it directly to Crisis in the Classroom.
I don't know who. That sounds familiar. I don't.
That's Channel 10.
Oh, yes. I did speak with them once.
Yeah,
I've also been sharing.
So they called me back right away, and they're digging deep. And you know, Channel 10, when they start digging deep, usually they don't stop until they hit China. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think the more exposure, the better. So I'm all for that. Definitely.
You know, the thing is that I have advocated for years, and I do mean decades. My son had an IEP in the Fall River school system, and his mother and I used to have to scream, rant, rave, holler, threaten lawsuits just for them to honor his IEP. They never, ever did it.
I've heard stories. We have situations right now due to specifically vacancies and other issues.
I don't want to hear the excuses. I don't want to hear the excuses. That's their problem, not the parents' problem, not the students' problem. Okay? The school department put the IEP in place. That means they have to make it happen.
Oh, I agree. 100% agree with you.
And when they don't, they rob the student of an education. And you, just by virtue of that report, you can see why the Fall River public school system is a failing school system. We're in the bottom of the list.
I just wish to add something, if I may, on that point. To your point, one other issue that I take, and it's actually a financial issue, but it does tie into special education. We pay top-notch dollar the top-notch attorney, top-notch quote-unquote, Michael Joyce, to basically battle the parents and battle them in IEP meetings to keep the IEPs as small as we can. But we paid this individual $200,000. He's one of the most highest paid individuals within the district, and this is admitted by the administration that we pay him over $200,000
in order to deprive the students.
and without a contract either. There's no contract, so we're calling and paying by the hour, and there's absolutely no fiscal controls. At the last meeting, myself and Mr. Aguiar called that practice out, and that needs to also change as well. And thank you, Nelson.
Melissa wasn't happy with my weekend flush.
Well, no, but this is it's fundamentally a trap. Like you said, Colin, you're paying $200,000 for someone. You don't mind to have someone in there to look to ensure that the IEP is justified and look at the legalities of the issues. But I don't know if I misinterpreted what you said, but his aim is to kind of reduce the number of them, which I don't believe is what we pay for the educational system to do. If somebody is justified in getting one, they should get one. We should not be paying somebody without a contract and with no basic direction, because he's the big wheel. I mean, again, another rogue agent that Coogan hired to take care of things. I'm frankly disturbed that we're trying to almost advocate against some of these things because you want to shrink the cost while you pay a guy $200,000. That disturbs me. I'm sorry,
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I think
this. Why would the school department pay somebody to deprive our students of a proper education? Because that's where that money's going, to deprive them of a proper education.
I'm not saying the answer, and I'm not saying I agree with this answer, but it's to keep the cost down. However, the flip side is you're paying a top-notch attorney, so it really cancels itself out anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, you're right.
They're spending money, $200,000 plus, because I'm sure there's more money around there somewhere, to not supply students with what they need. Okay? They argue, scream, rant, rave about transportation. Okay? I've had 37 years of critical nursing. Not that I have any experience, but I'll tell you now, a lot of those kids don't need a bus to get to school. A lot of them don't. And then to send those kids to school in private transportation like a cab with their brothers and sisters because, hey, they're all going to the same school, so we might as well pay for all of them.
Well, that shouldn't be the case right there.
No,
and
but
if it is, please.
When Ken Pacheco ever said, and I can't remember what school committee meeting it was, when he ever said, I have a school bus out there with 55 students, and I have to put another one on, and that bus is only supposed to have 35, but parents put all their kids on it, and they don't get approval.
I have to go back. I'll go back and listen to that. But
that's a long time back, and I'll tell you now. Ask him; he'll tell you. It's true.
I will.
It's true because I'll tell you now. A lot of these students get private transportation written into their IEPs. And unless there's a medical reason for it, it shouldn't happen. And if there is a medical reason for it, if they're receiving Medicaid or Mass Health, a PT1 will pay for it. And the school department doesn't have to. See, these are the things that they have no idea about, or they don't want to follow up on.
I don't care. It's just a big, giant money pit.
That's right. That's exactly what it is.
I will say this: if there needs to be an audit to look at, we have to review if there's students outside of an IEP that are receiving those services, the transportation services over other students, that shouldn't be the case either. So
That's right.
you raise a valid point.
Yeah.
And yeah, what I'd like to know is, why do we even have lawyers in the city of Fall River? When anytime we get anything of any consequence, we hire outside. You got a guy over here in the school department getting 200 grand. You got Bruce Assad. On the city side, we got an entire law department that does what? Coogan weaponizes it to go against his enemies. He had that one guy he hired recently that was commissioned to look for ways to get around something. But every time we have a real legal issue, we hire outside lawyers. Screw it. Why don't we have one guy in the law department taking care of potholes and then hire lawyers as we need them? But
we
no.
actually just received a dollar amount because this was a question we've been asking for, and we just received the dollar amount in an email yesterday. And we'll play a little game. Guess the amount that the Fall River Public Schools spends this fiscal year for outside legal. Outside legal, so not Bruce Assad. This is outside agencies. Let's take a guess.
And what does Bruce Assad do? Nothing.
600,000.
380.
Well, they did less than they had less suits than I thought. They settled more. $380,000, and we have a lawyer. Why have Bruce Assad? I mean,
no, yeah.
I mean, you can get. I'll tell you what. I can get you one of the best lawyers in the state if you're going to hire him on a case-by-case basis, and you actually run the city correctly, where we don't have a million lawsuits and we're not ignoring the law and violating all the rules. We would be a lot better off as taxpayers financially, because this is nuts, because this is what we have. And you know what it's caused by? Two things: lack of transparency and lack of accountability, which is the hallmark of the Coogan administration. And that's why it's caused. I didn't even know about this $200,000 lawyer. And I didn't know you spent $380,000. I didn't know that you had that much contract work outside. But I should have realized it, because you had Malone, you got all these other lawsuits. But that's just crazy. I mean, this is crazy. This is all taxpayer dollars, and he doesn't care.
Yeah, no, legal is one entity, department, whatever you want to call it, that needs to be tightened up. We need to tighten up the spending there, along with others. But that's one that we need to seriously look into reforms, tightening down on outside legal, putting some attorneys under contract when we can. And I think you bring up a valid point, and to the fact that if we have an attorney already, why are we going to outside legal? How can we potentially save money by either just having one firm under contract or whatever we have to do? But it needs to be different.
No, you're right, Colin. I want to know if those numbers are correct. But before I get that, I'll give you an example. Like I said, I know some really, really, lawyers that are very high profile in certain areas. One is obviously public sector law. But when you notice that everybody in Fall River, all our lawyers that are there, most of them have, like Bruce is there, he's been there forever. But then he had a private legal practice. He worked for Hodson. They got time to do all these great jobs on the side and make a lot of money. That's where they make their money. All the big time lawyers I know, their practice, because they have such big cases, they've got to spend all their time doing that, running that one practice. So if he doesn't have enough work that he can do this thing part-time, do we really need to pay him? If we're going to hire all these other people, that it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And I want to put those numbers up, Colin, because you're on a school committee. I want you to, are these figures correct?
I would have to check.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's I know sometimes
if those numbers are correct, that's staggering.
I do know Alfonso sometimes uses ChatGPT to get numbers, so I just want to double check that. It could be,
Okay.
but I'd like to.
I'm not asking you. I'm not pinning you down. I don't expect it because number one, if you asked the question right now with this school committee, you wouldn't get an answer anyway. But that's just I'm being
And that would
rhetorical.
be that would be an easy number to get down. That's already marked down.
Yeah.
Actually, I have to. I am still on the live. I do have to plug in my phone so the charge so I can still talk. So let me look up that answer while I'm still here.
Okay, fine. CJ and I can fill in the blanks, but yeah, the legal issues.
I just looked it up. According to what I just found, okay, Fall Public Schools spends approximately $19,528 per student each year, according to recent data. More detailed fiscal data from the National Center, again, something that's not reputable, the National Center for Education Statistics for the 2023-2024 school year using 2021-2022 fiscal data indicates total current expenditures of $20,266 per student.
For
Yeah, but what would they
2023,
know?
so
Yeah.
it most likely is higher now. I'm looking at the DESI report right now and it has that number for 2023. So yeah, no, that 24,000 is most likely accurate.
Right.
Oh my Lord, boy, talk about a money pit. Talk about a money pit. You are right. That the school department has been autonomous.
And the worst part about it is the more money we throw at them, the worse the students do.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
No,
The numbers are poor.
no,
The numbers are poor. And it will be and I think it's really important when you have a superintendent that oversees all of this. It's duly noted in evaluations. The way the numbers are going and the way we allocate funds. So that's one way you can hold individuals accountable, is through proper documentation evaluation. So that's really important that we don't take the evaluation process of the superintendent for granted. Example, last year, Paul Coogan gave Tracy Curley an exemplary score. And DESI standards, believe it or not, are very, I can actually pull them up right now. I have my evaluation I submitted. They're very rigorous, believe it or not. I have a lot of things I disagree with DESI. However, their performance standards are rigorous for teachers and for superintendents, in my opinion, at least. Proficient, and it says it itself. The proficient practice is understood to be fully satisfactory. This is a rigorous expected level of performance. You shouldn't get proficient unless everything's perfect.
That's right.
And exemplary is a rating of exemplary indicates that practice significantly exceeds proficient. And we already said proficient is a rigorous expected level. And could serve as model practice regionally or statewide for the mayor to give an exemplary performance on any level to Tracy Curley after just 1 year on the job. Not even just Tracy Curley, to give to anyone. It's ludicrous and, my opinion, politically motivated. And I'm hoping for the evaluation process this December, the mayor doesn't just misuse the process, because it is a very important process to hold individuals accountable and to see results. Because with evaluation process, you can provide ways you could see the district improve, and just giving false praise to someone does not help an individual improve. And he's actually doing the superintendent a disservice, in my opinion.
Well, let me make a quick comment because CJ, this is almost like this was rehearsed, but it worked. It works right into one of the quotes in your weekend flush, because we didn't plan this, people, but it just came up. But exemplary. We had someone who put in for that job who was passed over that should get exemplary marks, could get exemplary remarks, possibly, because she was considered the best superintendent in the state of Rhode Island. And that is Ann Riley. But this is what you said at the end of your weekend flush, your closing quote. Don't measure your productivity by hours, but by results. The results of our school system, no one could justify any superintendent getting exemplary. We have one of the most underperforming systems in, and I don't want to hear the excuses. The facts are the facts. You want to give her a attaboy, she tries hard, and give me all the stories. But exemplary means that we have an exemplary school system. that the superintendent. Yeah, I know that was rhetorical.
I know it was.
If we had a school system that was performing, and the superintendent was the driving force behind turning this system around, that's exemplary. To Paul Coogan, you do what I tell you, you're exemplary. This is the problem. And Scott, Brad's not going to go to the law department. He's going over to the housing authority. He may become the housing authority lawyer. He may get a job, but that's been known for a long time. He's going to the Fall River Housing Authority, and he even admitted it. As a matter of fact, I think Nelson was standing there in City Hall when I questioned him on that. Nelson, I think you were there when that happened. We were out in the lobby of outside a council meeting, and I posed that question to him, and he fundamentally admitted it after a little bit of cross-examination, but he did. So this is the problem. This is the problem. We've had this problem for years. Coogan has elevated it to an art form of making excuses, deflecting, and calling everybody who calls Fall River not perfect, negative, liars. They're all wrong. Even when CJ reads that from the Institute of whatever, yes, you were, Nelson. You were standing right there, as were a few other people. But you read statistics from the National Crime Bureau, and they go, they're lying. Oh, everybody in a state that thinks Fall River is a mess. They're all stupid. They're all lying. This is bull. We all know it. Open your eyes. Will you please open your eyes? It's like now, what did they just do? Wake up, Democrats. They just had an MIT professor say climate change was all bullshit for them to make money. And they all did. Biden's Secretary of Transportation, Granholm, bought all kinds of stocks in electric cars, and they were going to force everybody to buy an electric car. They all had stocks in the windmills and stuff. Got climate change, and a guy said, an MIT professor just said, it's all bull. It's all crap. We're not going anywhere. We had an ice age. We've had heat. We've had warming. We've had ice. They predicted the ice cap was going to melt. Everybody's moved on. They all made their money. And Greta Thunberg's now down in Palestine. Just the remaining wackos are here now. They've moved away. They made all their money. They perpetrated the hoax on the whole world. Scared, wrecked the generation. Do you know that the New Jersey school system mandates that you start teaching climate science from first grade? To propagandize it, brainwash these kids into being all stressed out that they're going to die next year. Well, there were people right from the get-go that said it was crap, and now another guy's just come out and said, but he said the words. They didn't do it for science. They did it for money. That's what they do. Politicians lie. And now they all made a zillion dollars out of this stuff, because this is what we do. And now
just look at South Coast Wind.
That's right.
Just look at South Coast Wind. Okay? And you notice every time they meet resistance from Trump or local people or local government, they go to court. to get a court order, like they did to put the transmission cables. All those windmills out in Rhode Island, no transmission cables. They didn't think about that?
Yeah.
They didn't think about that, really? And to top it off, you've got to get hit with a green energy tax on your utility bills, whether it be gas or electric. And to top it all off, according to Maura Douchebag Healy, we're going to get rid of natural gas. You're going to have to heat your home with electric. Can you see your electric bill in the winter?
Look at today. This has been one of the coldest Novembers in history.
I know.
It's nuts. Yeah, these people are nuts. It's been dispersed. It's been debunked by scientists now. All these other people that made money moved on, but the climate nuts in this state are going to continue to do it because they still are going to make money. It's going to make everybody go to elect. That's why people are going to move out of the state. They can't. This is crazy. They're
Right.
still pushing this. They're mandating it.
And they still haven't learned from what happened to Texas. Remember
No.
Texas? All
Yeah.
green energy,
Yeah,
coated in snow, no heat, no electric.
yeah. The whole state.
They were freezing it in the dark.
That's all they know how to do.
Right.
But this has been the problem in this city for decades. They made the movie Donovan's Reef. They made the movie Friends of Eddie Coyle. Fall River Rose in a Negative Light. They made the documentary about Chris Herron that said Fall River's a place where they punch first and ask questions later.
Do you
All was in
know?
a context.
Do you know that Fall River was mentioned in a recent Murder, She Wrote program, which is from the 1990s, 2000,
No.
where they said, I think I'll go to, because remember, they're in Cabot Cove, Maine, fictional community. Well, I think I'll go to Fall River from here. There's some nice things there. And the doctor turned around and said, yeah, Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. And she goes, well, maybe I'll go back to New York.
Oh, yeah. You know the other movie it was mentioned in, too? Love Story with
That's right.
Ryan O'Neal and Ally McGraw.
Yep.
Because she was from Cranston, Rhode Island. And
Cranston,
when she
Rhode
met
Island.
her parents, they looked down their nose at her and said, oh, that's near Fall River. She said, yeah, my parents are originally from Fall River. They live in Cranston now. And they said, oh, well, we own mills down there. Looking down their nose at her. So this is the problem. Because Fall River's always countered that, not by showing them that we're going to improve, by saying everybody else is lying. They're all full of shit. This is a great place. And look, we're not negative, we're realistic. You look at what it is. This city, when I grew up, was a great city. It wasn't a rich city, but everybody was working. We had stores on every single storefront on Pleasant Street was full. Every single storefront on South Main Street was full. We had clothing stores. We had restaurants. We had 9 restaurants from Stafford Square to Bogle Hill. Just 9 restaurants.
Yep.
And I can name them. And they were all thriving.
And don't forget Leo's hamburger joint.
We had that. Yeah, that was the Chuck Wagon.
The Chuck Wagon.
Leo Pelletier's first job was at the Chuck Wagon on Pleasant Street. And
I don't know where that is. You're gonna have to fill me in.
That's way before your time, Colin.
way before your time. Way before your time. That the Chuck Wagon was a little place that was right. Well, I give you. You know where Caravella Restaurant is?
Yes.
You know the car lot right across from Caravella?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, well, if you go to Caravella and you drive there's a bank on the corner. It used to be a bank. I don't know if it's still a bank.
Bank of America.
Bank, yeah. There's a bank on the corner, then there's a used car lot. Where that used car lot was, that's where the Chuck Wagon was. That was Leo. As a matter of fact, I mentioned that to Leo one time after a council meeting. I said, Leo, you come a long way from the Chuck Wagon, huh? And he laughed. He went, you remember that? I said, yeah, I remember that, Leo. I said, I remember when you were slinging hamburgers. I said, so that was my first job. I said, yeah. Leo was only, I think, he was a young kid, and and that was his first job. But
That was
this city could be proud that they were hardworking people. They weren't rich. We weren't Newton. We were never Newton. We'll never be Newton. They were proud. They had jobs. They could hold their head up. And we had an economy that could keep small businesses going.
Oh, so it was like a hamburger place?
Yeah, it was a hamburger place. Yeah, the Chuck. I used to eat hamburgers, fast food, comfort, old time, when you and it was like George's hot dogs when the guy used to line the hot dogs all the way up his arm. We were little kids going in there. Like today, at the Board of Health had closed the thing down. He had hot dogs from his wrist all the way up to under his chin, and he'd be doing this with the mustard and stuff like that. Little Charlie, and they hand you the hot dogs and a couple of little maybe forearm hairs in it, but who cares? In those days, when we grew up, we didn't die, did we? We used to eat dirt and everything, CJ. But,
Drank out of the hose.
Yeah. What does a foreign Republican do?
Foreign Republican committee, city committee, not commission. And they don't do anything unless they want to. That's the problem. They've been so divided that they don't have effective representation. Unlike the Fall River Democratic City Committee, which just stab each other in the back on a regular basis.
I don't closely follow either of them.
Neither do I.
So, but listen, we hopefully, we almost got rid of them, but now if we have a city council and the school committee that's going to basically force him to do the right thing. Because remember, you guys have the bully pulpit. Because if you don't appropriate the money, nothing gets done. And I think that it's going to be incumbent on you guys to really, really, really force the transparency we need, do the audits that we need. I know that Chris Peckham has already said he's going to immediately put in a resolution for a forensic audit of the city. And I think that you're right, Colin. I'm glad to hear you say you're going to look for some audits, because I think that we're in big trouble. If we allow Coogan to go unrestrained, unchecked for another 2 years, I think by the time he leaves, he will leave the city, and he will leave it on the verge of receivership, if not already in receivership. That's But you guys are going to have a heavy burden.
I think we're going to have independent. As I said, I think we're going to have independent-minded individuals who are going to do the best both for the students, truly, and for the taxpayers, and we're going to really focus on fiscal controls and accountability this time around. Chip and CJ, if you don't mind, if I can end on one point I wanted to bring up regarding the school committee, if I may.
Feel free. You got the pulpit.
Thank you. So tomorrow there is a special school committee meeting, and I'm not even sure the reason why we're having a meeting. Is one executive session item. I asked the superintendent multiple times for a reason as to why we're having a meeting. She, one, didn't want to tell me over email because it's executive session. Two, she didn't respond for days, even though I requested over and over. I guess there was a personal day. Even though there was multiple days I haven't received a response. Finally got a full response today. It wasn't even a full response because I still didn't get my question answered. And then finally she told me today that I would have to speak to the mayor. And it's usually the superintendent that informs the committee of what items are on the agenda. And I paraphrase, I'm not quoting, paraphrasing, superintendent said that this is something that's within the mayor's purview, not really something she can talk about, which I found odd, because if it's something within the purview of the school department and before the school committee, she would know. So very interesting developments. I recommend it. You probably won't see much, but I'd recommend watching the special meeting tomorrow, and we'll see what that's about.
Oh, that's good. I would make a parliamentary rejection immediately because if the superintendent of schools has the audacity to tell a school committee person that it's not within her purview, I guess she forgot we passed education reform that makes the superintendent. That's her purview. The mayor is just by the ex officio chairman of the school committee, a part of the school committee.
Right,
And,
exactly.
and that's so he does not, as you said, he does not set the agenda. The superintendent is being paid to do school department business. I would make a parliament because so basically what the superintendent has told you, Colin, is that the mayor runs her. He decides if he wants to take up something. It's then she says, "Oh, well, that's his purview." He has no purview. She's in charge. She's the superintendent of schools. He is not the mayor of the school. He's the ex officio chairman of the school. He is the mayor of the city, not the mayor of the school.
No,
So
you hit the nail
right
on
off
the
the
head.
bat, there would be an objection from me at the beginning of the meeting. That's what I would do because this is bull. But again, I'm glad
I won't vote. I personally won't vote to go into executive session unless I, at minimum, know what I'm going into it for, or if I'm debriefed. I asked for a debriefing, and she referred me to the mayor. I'll ask the mayor.
Yeah. Fundamentally, what she told you is the mayor told me to do this.
Very
Put it
possible.
on the
Actually, I
agenda.
think that might be it.
The mayor doesn't tell you anything. He can ask. You can ask for something to be put on the agenda. So
He does not have any more power than any other member of the school committee, except run the meetings.
that's exactly
Which,
right.
needs a lot of work next year, but we'll address that next year.
Well, we've got confidence in you, Colin.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think, and please, I also hope you all reach out to the other new members as well to come on. I think we have some good people coming on this year, and I think you'd be interested in hearing some of their stories.
Well, when the offer was made for them to come on before the election, and I mean, we made it numerous times on the show, and a lot of people didn't take us up on it.
That's
So,
unfortunate.
You know, it is unfortunate. Hey, I got a couple of comments here on YouTube. Fire Photog says, "Sorry I'm late. So is the recall going to commence now that the recount is over?
Maybe.
A recall cannot happen for 90 days after they're installed. Now, there are some other personal issues coming up with the school department. I can't name names right now. It's all pending litigation. So here's some more litigation coming down the pipe."
Possibly.
Yeah, you ready for it, Colin?
Hey, I listen. Whatever issues, when you have a lot of personnel issues that they don't even tell the school committee about, and that's one
Well,
of the
according to
major
that
things.
report, you don't even have an investigative bureau. So
How did we ever survive, huh? So I'm looking at this. I'm sorry. That was a great show. But Stevie, I don't know if you went to George's Hot Dogs because when we grew up, when I was a kid, we'd walk up to George's and like Charlie, but like you said, he'd be sweating in the middle of the summer, sweaty forearms, and he'd line like a dozen hot dogs up his
yes,
forearm
he did.
and just put the
I used to sit there. I used to sit there when I was a kid and watch him.
Coney Island sauce and then stick them on the plate. And
That's
we eat
right.
'em. It's amazing we survived.
Yeah, it's true. Well, Colin, I want to thank you for joining us today. It
Thank
was
you.
very informative.
You both.
Sorry your phone kept dying on you, but I thank you for being here. Anytime you want to come on, just say so. We'll bring you on board.
And thanks, Nelson, for that comment. Yeah, as you said, democracy in action.
And as you always say, Chip, truth never fears investigation.
That's right. Never does.
That's right. So I want to thank you all for watching, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great day.